We're talking with Charlie Mitchell, who is the editor-in-chief of Take Action News. Charlie, I want to ask you a little bit about the leadership challenge to House Speaker John Boehner. And as an example, there's a Congressman Justin Amash, a Republican from Michigan's 3rd District, Grand Rapids, Michigan. He voted not for John Boehner to be Speaker, but for Congressman Raul Labrador to be Speaker of the House. Justin Amash explains these votes on Facebook, and he said, Raul would defend liberty and work honestly with Democrats on debt reduction. We must act now for the sake of our next generation. Amash is also somebody who voted against relief for Hurricane Sandy. But in any case, the threat to John Boehner, how real was it? And what do you make of some of these, I'd say, this sort of gang of Tea Party Republicans in the House and the problems that they may cause on the Republican side?
Well, I think that Boehner has a big problem, and all of the problems within the Republican Party right now were on full display this week in the House. There are so many tensions, and there are tensions between ideological purity and the demands of actually governing and having to do things that aren't really pleasant, but, you know, what we might call doing the grown-up thing. There's a lot of tension there, and I think that Boehner was surprised, and Boehner's people were surprised at actually how dangerous that moment became for them in the vote for Speaker. They went in very confident because there was no focused opposition to him. There was nobody who, everybody who was upset with Boehner could rally around. And Eric Cantor, who is the number 2 Republican in the House, he's from Virginia, he was being very careful not to position himself as an opponent of Boehner. Even though they parted company over the fiscal cliff deal, Cantor voted against it, which was somewhat remarkable. But at any rate, the opposition to Boehner didn't really have a leader, but it did show that the Republican conference is very divided, that some of the more, some of the outliers in the party, the more hard right-wing members are basically saying, you know what, we're not playing ball anymore, and you've made too many compromises, and we're not going to deal with you, and we want to throw you out. They haven't reached a critical mass yet to actually bring down Boehner, but I think it really shows how difficult it's going to be for him to govern going forward. And he being Boehner, is very, very eager to get this debate onto the terms of spending cuts, as you mentioned, because Republicans are much more comfortable there if they can be cutting government. And so I think he's going to try to get out front and present a big spending cut package that he can rally his team around and kind of get them past this moment where everybody was very upset at Boehner and everybody was very upset at themselves, and the system didn't seem to be working very well, and the party seemed to be coming apart at the seams. I think Boehner thinks that the spending cut issue can be the elixir that kind of settles this and moves them forward. But as said, if that's the case, then we're probably just heading into another major confrontation with the White House. It doesn't really bode well for compromise.
Charlie Mitchell, editor-in-chief of Take Action News. Charlie's going to stick around and join us on the other side of this break. And, oh, by the way, before we go to break, we did reach out to Congressman Justin Amash, and he would not respond to our request for an interview. More with Charlie Mitchell on what's going on with Speaker Boehner and also that vote against relief for Hurricane Sandy earlier this week. Take Action News continues after this.